Ellen Pereira. I am the president of DORR, and starting that way sounds kind of odd. Welcome to everybody. I see a lot of new faces, which is really encouraging. Janine Trevelyan is over here.
Right.
We all know. Thank you for coming. Rose Bourne is here. I see it's her first time. Who else is a first timer? Okay, good. So this is our wonderful crowd that we have frequently. Thanks again to Jeff Dissinger so much for all the work that you're. I have no idea how much Jeff does behind the scenes. He is just incredible, and we appreciate it so very much. So thank you, Jeff. Welcome everybody. This is going to be a great program. We have in the room with us Jonathan Hill, and on Zoom we will have two other candidates for the Corporation Commission. Wow, is this an important thing? This is something that we're all concerned with, and we need to learn more about, because it's something that people bypass on the ballot because they just don't know what it does, they don't know what it is, and it just sounds strange. So we will lift the veil on that today. I wanted to let you all know that we are, well, DORR has been very busy. We had a fabulous dance. How many people were at the dance on Main Point?
What was the biggest hit?
What was
Somebody dance or doesn't dance?
the mayor? Whenever I say, will you dance? He says, no, I don't want to hurt anybody. One of the highlights of the evening was the pole dancer.
Yes. Oh.
Last pole dancer. It was awesome. And we had, somebody's mouth is wide open here. It's just like the pole dancer came out wearing the costume as a ballot box, and she was a POLL dancer. The lead-in led people to think she was a POL. So we had fun with that, and that was great. And we raised good money, and we will put that money to use almost instantly, because we're printing things and getting ready to start our campaigning door to door. Where is Diana Christensen? Diana is our vice president. Do you want to come up and tell everybody about the event on the 24th, 22nd of this month?
6 p.m. on Wednesday. We're meeting at the DORR office. Anybody that has an interest in canvassing or in our neighborhood program, we'd like to bring you together so that we can talk about what we're doing to influence this election, particularly the primary. We're starting immediately with literature drops, and there may be a few candidates at that meeting. There will be pizza, and if you come, you will get a t-shirt.
A t-shirt like this,
Only
just in
blue.
blue, that you can wear when you go out canvassing.
That's right.
Very attractive.
So if you've been involved in the programs, please come. And if you'd like to be involved, please come. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And can I say there are t-shirts for sale right outside the door, $20. If you want one, come see me.
And the row your boat t-shirt as well.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Door-to-door canvassing is so important. Meeting the voters or non-voters who we hope will become voters is very critical. Know that we don't send canvassers to any Republican doors. We only go to Democrats and left-leaning independent doors. Some of our canvasses do not involve knocking at all, but rather just hanging literature on the doorknob. We have a wonderful door hanger, DORR hanger, that lists the accomplishments of the Biden-Harris administration, which people can then keep on their kitchen tables if they need a reminder when somebody says, well, what has he done? What have they done? These are the things they've done. So if you're at all interested in canvassing or doing literature drops or driving people do these things, because it's important to have a driver when we have so much space between homes, please see Diana, call the DORR office, come by. But this meeting will be a great first start. On the 31st of May, DORR will be having an event for youth. which is very important. It is a membership event headed by our membership chair, Linda Scott. And by youth, we are defining that as this is Sedona youth. So anyone 49 and below is welcome. And once again, we will be having free pizza, beer, wine, lots of fun. Candidates, Jonathan Nez will be there, Nikki Check will be there. So we are hoping to bring more young people into the fold, have them become members of DORR, which if you're not, anybody out there, it's $30 for an individual member, 50 for a family member. And so that'll be great. That's on May 31st.
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
At the DORR office.
If you know young people, invite them. It will be in that breezeway right outside the office there. Okay, without further ado, I would like to one more thing I wanted to mention. Stephen Hanks, sitting back there, is the host of Sedona Life with Stephen Hanks, which is a radio show on KAZM. It plays on Saturday mornings. This Saturday, next Saturday, the 25th, he will have Mayor Scott Jablow, Holly Klug, and Kathy Kinsella, City Council people, or Vice Mayor Holly Klug, I should say. They will be on the radio show that morning. And all three of these candidates have been endorsed by DORR. And so we're looking forward to the radio show. Yes, Steve?
Just want to add one thing. The show is going to be about the work of the council. It's not going to be a campaign.
Okay, I don't know if everybody at home heard that, but the show will be about the work of the council, it's not a campaign show. So, yeah, so 9 o'clock on the 25th. Yes. Okay, great. I would like to introduce George Lee. George is chair of our programs committee and has lined up the 3 Democratic candidates for the Corporation Commission to be with us this morning. So George, thank you.
Thank you all for attending. Corporation Commission was something that wasn't particularly on my radar until a couple of things like APS basically being able to raise their rates whenever they wanted. How is this possible? And just doing a little quick background, I found out, for example, that the Corporation Commission was actually established back in 1912 to give consumers a voice. Since then has that mission. I don't know as much about the Corporation Commission as I would like. Therefore, I will turn it over to Jonathan Hill, who will be able to explain a lot more about what the commission does. But I do want to introduce Jonathan, who is kind of blows me away that he is going to be running for the Corporation Commission. Basically, he's a scientist. She has gotten degrees from ASU in Russian, in geological sciences, and aerospace engineering. Thank you. In fact, he has a PhD in aerospace engineering and has been involved in a number of the ASU Mars flight mission facilities, going to asteroids. Europa is that now on track, and specifically with the Mars rover missions, you control some of the actual instrumentation, I think, on the rovers. An incredible person. It's with great pleasure that I introduce Jonathan Hill.
Where's your wife, Tim?
What's that?
Where's your wife?
We'll have to talk later because my Russian, as you might expect, it's been a couple years since I've been over there, so I haven't had a lot of practice lately.
We know that because here.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, about 65 years.
Oh okay. Well, yeah. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This is a great turnout for Friday morning. This is awesome. So as George said, my name is Jonathan Hill. I'm one of your three candidates running for the State Corporation Commission. And I'll start out by saying there are three seats on the commission that are on the ballot this year. And there are three of us running. So you don't have to choose favorites. You don't have to, make hard decisions about who to support. You can support all three of us, myself, Joshua Polachek, and Elenia Aguilar, who are both, I believe, going to be online in a minute. So first, just to start out, uh, before George gave his introduction, how many of you feel like you knew what the Corporation Commission was? Oh, okay. This is better than normal. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, in a way that's almost good because a lot of communities, a lot of people find out about the commission when something really bad happens. So I was just down in Florence about a month ago. They all are very fit. You ask that same question there, every single hand in the room goes up and you start seeing the steam come out of their ears. Their power bills went up 300% last summer because of the mismanagement of their power utility. And so people down there, some are paying more on their electricity bill per month than their mortgage. And they're going to have to, well, they need to move because they can no longer afford electricity, but no one wants to buy those houses and take on those electricity bills. So it's a complete mess. Telling George, my neighbors in Tempe, I live in Tempe, right next to ASU, they all learned about the commission back in May of 2020, right as COVID was starting. We had a train derail that was carrying some toxic chemicals right in the middle of downtown, caused a 100-plus-year-old railroad bridge to collapse into the lake. It was a mess. And everyone was wondering, well, whose job was it to keep track of this 100-year-old railroad bridge and make sure it was safe? That's also the commission. So yeah, the commission has this strangely wide variety of responsibilities, but they're primarily known for regulating all the utility companies. So power, if you have private water, they regulate that. They can do private wastewater, sanitation, telecommunications, essentially all the monopolies in the state where you don't have a choice of who you buy service from. And as George alluded to, commission was actually began with the Arizona State Constitution when we became a state. And at the time, it was a really progressive idea to have an elected body have race oversight over the utilities. Now, back then, they were more concerned about the railroads and the railroad barons. Now it's the utilities that are the main monopolies we deal with. And yeah, it was just a really progressive idea, having the voters have a say on what they're charged. But as he alluded to, over the last half century, it has just devolved into this rubber stamp body. And I believe almost all of you are APS customers. Yeah. Okay, so you saw the rate increase I came across, and I think mine started in April. I think some people started in March, depending on when your billing cycle is. But that only happened because the commission voted for it. And they voted 4-1. There's 4 Republicans, 1 Democrat. So we tend to lose a lot of really important votes by a margin of 4-1. And the thing that just makes my blood boil a little bit is that the current chairman of the commission, he admitted on the record during the meeting where they voted to approve that rate increase. Oh, okay. He openly said that he didn't even read the proposal from APS because he knew he was going to vote for it. So why read it? Why even waste the time? So that's something you'll hear me and Joshua and Elenia just coming back to time and time again, that not only is the commission not working for people, they're not even trying to be subtle about it anymore. They just completely lost track of their mission to protect all the consumers and to be their voice. Instead, they're being the voice for utility companies, which is exceedingly unfortunate. And also, I'm sure many of you in the room, are concerned about environmental issues. How many of you have solar in your homes? Oh, wow. Okay, that's a really good percentage. So you all get the reimbursement from APS
Minimal.
Minimal. Well, you haven't seen minimal yet. So there's currently a case open at the commission to lower that rate. There's a couple of commissioners are on record saying that they want it at zero. They want APS to be able to take your electricity for free and then sell it to your neighbor for profit. And why? Because, well, that's pure profit for them. They don't generate it, but they can sell it. It's perfect. So, and so not only is that unfair, but it also disincentivizes solar. And a lot of people, you know, you all included, probably looked at that reimbursement rate when you decided to put your systems in, see whether you could afford it or not, you know, how long it's going to take to pay off. And if they change that rate, it's only going to extend how long it takes to pay that off. And so the last thing we should be doing in Arizona is disincentivizing solar.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, I know, I'm sure a lot of you are keen on environmental issues and have probably voiced, I'm sure, like every Democrat, like, why is Arizona not the solar capital of the world? Like, you know, forget the nation, the world. Why are we just, how is this not a thing? Texas actually has more solar per capita than Arizona, which is just mind-blowing. Well, the explanation is really complicated, but on the other hand, it's really simple. It's the commission. Because solar is now cheaper than other forms of energy generation. The permitting process to build a solar power plant is much easier than to build a gas plant. Really, the only thing holding it up is that the commission is incentivizing the utilities to build methane-powered power plants and disincentivizing solar. So it's really unfortunate, but it's also an opportunity. If we can take a majority on the commission, that's something we can fix very, very quickly. And so that's why it's so important that we elect all three of us in November, because that'll be 3 out of the 5. We'll have a majority on the commission. We can elect one of us as the chairman, and we can dictate how the commission behaves going forward. And that would be the first time, I think, since 1952 that we'd have a Democratic majority on the commission. So
Start.
yeah, it's a good start. Yeah. Question.
Does this mean that the Democrat is not running into, or is being turned out into, the other two are Republicans?
Well, yeah. So the 3 seats that are up this term, there's 2 Republican seats and 1 Democratic seat. The Democrat currently on the commission, Anna Tovar, chose not to run for re-election. And so that's why Joshua and Elenia registered. They got in a little bit later than I did because Anna changed her mind. One of the Republicans is also not running for re-election. So we only have 1 incumbent to deal with. So it further increases our chances of having only 1 incumbent into either 2 or 3.
Yeah, so aside from the usual philosophical favoritism toward corporations that Republicans have, what is their, do they have any other incentive, like financial? Are they being persuaded by the Republican legislatures in the legislature and to go that way? And the other question is, why would the solar companies, who are also businesses, have any influence on policy?
Wow, 2 really good questions. No, that's great. So I'll start off by saying, again, one of the positives and negatives of the commission is that it is very separate. It's semi-jokingly referred to as Arizona's 4th branch of government.
Yeah.
If that's not an official thing, but in practice, it is because it's independent of the legislature, it's independent of the judiciary, and even though it's under the executive branch, it's very independent of them as well. And when it comes to utility rate increases, when it comes to utility service quality issues, the court cases over the years have set precedent that the commission basically has unchecked authority in that area. So they don't answer to the legislature. They don't necessarily answer to the judiciary or the executive. it's this self-contained unit.
So it's personal preference of the members to favor the.
Right. And along that line, you know, in a minute, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself, but one of the things that I'm running on personally is I think we need more commissioners, a technical background, because obviously they're regulating very technical things, you know, power generation, water distribution, groundwater management in rural areas. All things that takes a lot of specialty knowledge and should have at least one member on the commission. There is currently one Republican member who technically is an engineer. He has a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. The only problem is he got his 20 years of professional experience working as an engineer for Southwest Gas. And has voted for all the Southwest Gas rate increases that they've asked for, without even pushing back on them trying to lower what they're asking for. So not the most objective commissioner. And I think, you know, there's also this dynamic that we're seeing even among the Republican members of the commission. They're actually fairly fractured because you have some moderate, I use that term lightly, moderate Republicans who are still trying to, you know, do what's best for business, still kind of do what the commission's mission is. But then you have another group of commissioners who are more on the, we'll say, MAGA side. And so their priorities are sort of tangential to even what the commission is supposed to be doing. One of the current commissioners, the chairman, after the 2020 election, he tried to get the commission to spend its own money on investigating voter fraud.
Yikes.
Even though it's underfunded, commission as a whole, that's not anywhere close to their area of responsibility. And it was purely a political stunt, and such a political stunt that even the other Republicans on the commission voted him down, and it was too much even for them. So I think that's another added problem, is just their policy priorities are like in a completely different zone than the typical debate of, you know, ratepayers versus the utility companies. They're over here.
I was just curious, and you could touch on it later. Chairman position, does that change? And what is the process for that? And will that person, is there going to be another blend after the election in terms of how they get into that position and so on?
Yeah, so the chairman's role is mostly somewhat ceremonial. They actually don't hold any like chief justice powers necessarily, but they are the ones who run the meeting. They set the agenda, the meetings, and typically you hold an election for the chairman whenever a new commission is formed.
Okay.
So after an election,
Right.
and it usually is obviously elected from the majority. And with 4 commissioners, what we've seen is 3 elected the current commissioner, and they even pushed out one of the current Republicans in that process. She was too moderate, even, you know, for them.
I think like what I understand you saying is there's really no one supervising this commission for having any authority in any capacity at all.
Only you guys.
What's the stamping? Supporting the commissioners, 5 commissioners, and what do they do to stamp?
So the staff of the commission, I forget the exact staff number. I think it's around 200 total. Don't quote me on that though. But they're divided up into all sorts of different divisions. So something I didn't mention, you know, there's the utility division, obviously. There's the railroad safety division, there's pipeline safety. The commission also regulates securities. So if you're dealing in securities in Arizona, you have to be registered through the commission. Or if you are registered with the commission and you do something you shouldn't be, they're the ones who revoke your registration. But they also register businesses. So if anyone here has a small business or has worked for a small business, you register that with the commission. Or nonprofits. Nonprofits have to register with the commission. That's actually how I got involved in the commission, trying to register a nonprofit. So I'm sorry, what was the rest of your question?
What do they do?
Oh, so the staff, they are there basically to, one, handle the day-to-day. Just mechanics of the commission, doing the safety inspections, doing the analysis of the rate cases for the commission. Then each commissioner, so for each commissioner, they have two staff members. They have basically an administrative assistant to just help them with stuff. And then they have one policy advisor. That's all the staff commissioners, one policy advisor piece. And so that's why I think it's also important to have a commissioner with technical experience, because if you only get one advisor, how are they supposed to advise you on all the technical aspects, all the financial aspects, all the, legal aspects? That there's so much to advise commissioner on. One advisor really isn't enough. All you get.
At this point, let me just interrupt, because we do have two other speakers, and one of them will have to leave early. Let's hold questions for later.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So I'll just finish up my little piece here by giving you a little bit about myself. As George said, I've worked at ASU for the last 18 years on a number of NASA space missions. So I started out on the engineering side, did a bachelor's and master's in aerospace, and then started doing operations with these missions and the instruments. And then really just kind of fell in love with the science that our missions were doing, and got more and more involved in that. And so I actually switched tracks and became a geologist. And so I did my master's and a PhD in geology. And so, as I said before, I hope to bring that technical engineering side, but also that geology side to the commission. And the last thing I'll mention before we turn it over to Joshua and Elenia, I see at least Elenia there. So Elenia and myself are both running as what's called clean elections candidates. If you're not familiar, that basically means that we're not allowed to accept money from PACs and corporations like the utilities, who have a long and unfortunately successful history of getting their fingers in this race to get commissioners that will agree with them. But yeah, so we're not allowed to take money from that. We're not even allowed to take money from the Democratic Party, which is fortunate. Upside is that once we qualify, we each get $350,000 from the state to run our campaigns. The catch is that to qualify, we have to collect these $5 donations. And we have to get those from 1,500 voters because we're a statewide office. And I'm happy to tell you, as of this morning, I am 23 away.
All right.
And I know a couple of you have already given, so I don't know if we have enough to get me there today, but we get awfully close. So afterwards, if you come talk to me on the table outside, I have little cards with the website you can go to do it online. I can also have the forms if you want to give it with as a $5 bill, or if you want to write a check today, I can accept that. I just need you to fill out a little form that proves you actually gave it, and I slip $5 in from my wallet. And so I can accept those for myself and for Elenia, and I'll bring those back down to Phoenix when I see her in a couple days. So with that, I guess we can turn it over to probably if Jonathan was online. I know he has to run. We have to
Shelley,
make him presenter.
Shelley can do that.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I'm staring at myself. It's always an uncomfortable feeling. Thank you very much for having me. I wish I were there in person, but I am actually about to run from here to meet with TEP, the Tucson Electric Power Company, to discuss their integrated resource plan, which is their look ahead to 2038. And it's a plan that's approved by the Corporation Commission. And the current plan has basically they're looking at we're going to transition to 1/3 solar by 2038. We're going to still have methane powered. 2/3 of our power will come from methane turbines in 2038. And then between 2038 and 2050, we'll become net zero. magically somehow. So, you know, they waved their hands and somehow it'll happen. So first, my name's Joshua Polachek. I am running as one of the 3 Democratic nominees for Corporation Commissioner. I am coming at this as a native Tucsonan, as someone who grew up all across the rural West. My parents were in the Indian Health Service. And so I grew up on the reservations, did middle school and high school in Tucson, and then joined the United States Department of State as a commissioned Foreign Service officer when I was 23. Served for about 20 years in the Foreign Service, including garden spots like Mosul, Iraq, Beirut, Lebanon, Islamabad, Pakistan. And I came back because after the 2016 election, I was just so heartbroken about what was going on in our country. And it gets emotional for me, but I took an oath to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And to see what was planned to happen under the previous administration, what actually happened under the Trump administration, has really struck close to home. I could not imagine, you know, going through a roadside bomb and in Iraq and an assassination attempt in another country to have that sort of administration happening in the United States. And so I came back home, or I came back to the US, was trying to figure out how I could best contribute to democracy. And then my father fell ill, and I came back home to Arizona to do end-of-life elder care. After he passed, I got deeply involved in Democratic politics here in Southern Arizona, including running the Democratic Party of Pima County as executive director during the last presidential cycle. And as we all remember, the aftermath. And I'm coming at this with a real sense that we can deliver for the people of Arizona, that we as Democrats can present a positive vision for what our government can do for the everyday citizens. We can make sure that the bills, the crisis, the cost of living crisis that people are facing right now, we can do something directly about it. We can make sure that the bills hold steady, that we can put in the policies and the strategic plan that we need, not just to keep the bill steady, but to bring that cost curve down. And oh, by the way, that's what we need to do to address the climate crisis, to address the water crisis in Arizona. And it's only going to happen if we have political leadership. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you saw the story with ABC 15 last week, but I came at this with sort of a policy and a sense of duty when I got into the race in January. But after last week, there was a story that came out. 153 people in Maricopa alone, over 200 people in Arizona across the state died inside last summer from heat death. And it makes me angry. And I hope it makes everybody angry. And the stories that you read of the profiles of the people that were just, they couldn't afford to fix their AC because their electric bills were too high. Even if their AC was working, they couldn't afford to run it enough because the electricity bill was too high. We should not see people dying in our state because our essential utilities are too expensive. We cannot continue to put profits over people and have our fellow citizens die. So with that, I do have to run in a bit. I do want to really give a shout out to my teammates, Elenia and Jonathan. I want to stress that we need to get them their $5 so that they can get their clean elections. And I am running traditionally. We are looking at a cost of similar to what a congressional race is going to cost in Arizona. So about $3 million. You can go to Joshua for Arizona and give what's meaningful to you. We are looking currently, our big bill that we're looking at is deploying a statewide community organizing team, relational organizing team. That's going to cost about $200,000. We hope to get those folks deployed by the end of June. And we're going to need folks like yourselves to help ensure that we raise the resources needed for that. With that, love to take questions, and I'd love to also pass it to my teammate and the star of the show, Eleni Aguilar.
Any questions for Joshua?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Ilenia Aguilar. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I have a couple commitments here with work. In my day job, I work as a consultant for several different companies. One of them that I really love the work that I'm working on right now is with Moms Clean Air Force. It's a nonprofit program born out of the Environmental Defense Fund where we advocate for clean air. And I wanted to share a little bit about me and how I ended up here. In 2016, I voted for the first time ever, and for myself, I'm formally undocumented. So it is a journey, and it is a privileged journey that I'm on. I never thought that I would ever become a US citizen. I definitely never thought about running for office. I started on the school board where both of my boys were students. They're now one's a sophomore college student and a sophomore in high school. But back then they were both students in the Osborne School District, a small school district in Central Phoenix where I currently reside. And I won my election, and I, was very honored to serve the community for 7 years. It is probably one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, is being on a school board. And then I ran for the Central Arizona Water Conservation District Board, which is the managing body for the Colorado River water. So water being very critical and important for the future, not only of Arizona, but our country. So that we are a water wholesaler. I can do both. I can be on the CAP because I'm a volunteer there. I don't get paid. Similar to the school board, it's a volunteer position. And I can also be on the Corporation Commission. So I am still committed to my role in the Central Arizona Water Conservation District Board. And I ended up there because I have worked, like I said, with various clients in that the role that I've been the most passionate about, because they're all really great experiences, but it was working for a company that provided clean drinking water to underserved communities through a technology. So it was a green tech company. And I traveled all the way from the border communities, which are the colonias, the unincorporated areas along the US-Mexico border, communities like the ones that my family comes from, where they lack infrastructure, they lack water, not just clean drinking water, but they lack water and electricity, similar to Navajo and Hopi, which are other communities that I've had the honor and privilege of visiting and working with. And those are communities in our backyard, people who don't have electricity and in our backyard are just trying to survive. And I can't imagine what it's like to live under those conditions. And yeah, so I've been doing advocacy and policy work since I got elected in 2016. I never thought that I would venture into that space. Prior to being elected, I spent 15 years as an interpreter and translator in the medical and legal field. Started off in the legal field as a court interpreter and an interpreter in the federal detention centers, and eventually crossed over to the health side where I was interpreting for DORR, which is the Office of Disability Adjudication Review Hearings, workman's comp contracts, behavioral health contracts. And then fast forward, I got elected, and then I realized that I was great at policy. I love green tech. I think it's part of the solutions for our climate challenges. And I was recruited to CAWCD because of the work that I was doing in water. It's very different to talk about leaders versus million acre feet, which are the conversations we're having currently at CAP. But I was recruited to run for the ACC. Never did I imagine. No one wakes up and says, I'm going to run for the Arizona Corporation Commission. Most people don't even know that this board exists. And I was recruited because Anna, who is the current Democratic commissioner, is not running for re-election. She has endorsed my campaign. She has been a mentor of mine since I got elected in 2016. And I'm honored to have her support and honored to carry on her legacy and do the work that I need to do for not just the communities that look like me, but all communities. At the end of the day, I have encountered people who have told me that they didn't vote for me, and I'm okay with that because I let them know, I am elected to serve all people, and I will do and fight for your family just like I fight for the families of the people who vote for me. And I take my role serious because, 10 years ago, it's been 10 years since I became a citizen. I didn't have a voice or the right to vote. So I take my privileges very serious, and I want to continue being those voices. We know that the cost of food has gone up. We know that the cost of housing has gone up. And we know that the people that are the most impacted by the ACC, this regulating commission, are low income families and like mine, and people living on fixed income, and that's our elderly population. And they are the ones who are experiencing the most injustices when it comes to climate, and that's not fair. So I want to continue being that voice for our communities and being a consumer advocate, and ensuring that we have rates that are equitable for all Arizonans. And with your, I hope to earn your trust, and with your support, I can get there. Going from 4,000 votes on the school board to 400,000 votes on CEP to now needing 1,650,000 votes for Arizona Corporation Commission is kind of mind blowing. I never ever imagined to be here. And to be quite frank, like, I've never had the opportunity to stop and reflect. I've been running for office ever since I became a US citizen. But I do consider that an honor and a privilege, and I will continue working hard for you, for everyone. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, either, yes.
Is the seat you're running for, Anna, to our seat?
Well, I'm running to keep the seats. So there are 3 seats open. So there are 3 of us running together. So Jonathan, Joshua, amazing men that I get to run with. There are 3 seats, 3 Democrats running, 3 Republicans running. I was recruited to keep her seat, to protect the seat. And I want to say that I am not loved by the corporations, but I get to work with them in all my roles that I've had, whether I'm sitting on the school board, the Water Conservation Board, or the Vitalist Health Foundation, which is the largest foundation, or all the other small nonprofits that I sit on. I've had to work with them. So I wouldn't say I'm loved by them, but I'm not hated by them. And I've worked across, party lines. When I first got elected to the school board, and I shared that I was undocumented and I got elected with Trump, and I was afraid for the safety of our students and our mixed status families. And one of the board members told me she could care less about immigrants and she wasn't gonna support my resolution. But eventually I got consensus, and at the end of the 7 years of service, we were best friends. And I got elected to CEP with the MAGA slate, and we are good friends, and we do what is right for Arizonans. So I have worked across party lines to get things done, and I will continue to do that.
Can I ask Joshua, the consultant that you're about to hire, tell us what kinds of things they plan to do that will amplify your campaign and your name recognition and help you get elected?
Sure. Am I back on screen? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So we're not actually trying to hire consultants. We are looking to hire campaign staff. We want to get community organizers into the communities like yourselves, and be going to all these community events, picnics, barbecues, union meetings. I've been endorsed by, I guess now, five unions. We're working on AFL-CIO statewide. I'm looking to get every single union that I can. I am a former union brother myself. I believe that the transition to clean energy will result in a lot of good union jobs for folks across the state. And so hiring these community organizers, their job is to make sure that our message, our concrete pocketbook message, gets out to the folks across the state. And in addition, that when necessary, we can make sure that one of the 3 candidates goes to an event. And so the idea is, similar to the work that y'all are doing as volunteers of knocking on your neighbors, the community organizers will be helping to do that across the state. And we want them to be actually working for the campaign, being paid a living wage.
Will the Democratic Party of Arizona be helping?
Yes, but there limits so far. There is an opportunity to coordinate some of the expenditures between the campaigns, the clean campaigns and the traditional campaigns. But a lot of this is we need to put out the same sort of infrastructure that Adrian and Katie and Chris put out in 2022. And as the only non-federal statewide race, a lot of that is on our shoulders to build out that infrastructure, because there are certain firewalls between federal money and non-federal money.
I'll just jump on that really.
Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to jump and add on that that's something that all of you can really help us with as well. Not just knocking on doors, telling people what the commission is, but just talking to your family members, your neighbors, reminding each other when you come to these meetings. I've been doing this for about 16 months now, and I've been to every little corner of the state that I didn't even know existed before. I cannot tell you how many really educated, involved, dedicated Democrats have told me, oh, they see that on the ballot, they never vote for it because they don't own a company.
Wow.
That's not what it is at all. Once stand up. Yeah, sorry. So once I found that, that's the unfortunate thing, but I've also found that it's an easy sell. Once you start telling people, hey, do you know that this group is the one that approved your APS rate increase? Do you want that to not happen in the future? Like, that's an easy sell. Do you want to get a fair reimbursement for the solar energy you put back on the grid? That's this office. So a 30-second conversation can really open a lot of eyes when it comes to this office. And that's what we need, because unfortunately in the last election, we saw a huge undervote. Everyone was voting for Katie and Adrian, and luckily just enough people voted for Chris. But then a lot of people just didn't vote Corporation Commission.
Yeah, John, are you guys, based on the number of seats open and the number of candidates, are you guys automatic to be on the general election ballot, or do you have to win primary?
Yeah, so all three of us, we will be on the primary ballot, but all three of us have already won by default. And actually, the exact same thing is true on the Republican side. So we already know the general election.
So all the money you're raising will be toward the general.
Essentially, yeah.
The community organizers, that you're hiring, are they for all three of you? Like, can your campaigns coordinate like that, or do they have to be separate?
So how it's going to work is what the community organizers can do is say, we need to win a Democratic majority on the Corporation Commission. Elenia, Jonathan, and I can print joint material as long as we have a equal cost share. And then my organizers can distribute that material and say, we need to get Democratic control of the majority. They can hand over the sheet. They just can't say vote for Elenia and Jonathan, but they can say vote for 3 Democrats. So they just can't name their names, but they can do everything else except for name their names. And then they can hand them a piece of literature that has all 3 of our names on it, as long as that literature was equally cost shared between our 3 campaigns.
Yep.
So next one.
Yep. Thanks, Jonathan. How much persuasive power does the Arizona Corporation Commission have over utility companies? Such as, can they tell them, okay, you need to, effective 2050, you have to be at 50% climate free, renewable, renewable, that type. Or nuclear power. That's not a carbon generator. So do they have that much persuasive power?
I can answer part of the first question. So there were rules. The rules are no longer in existence, but we can, when we do elect all 3 of us, we can bring the rules, which are the standards, back. And that's what we're aiming to do. That is a part of our responsibility as climate advocates to bring back those roles and set a goal for Arizona, because we were leading at one point and now we're not. We're actually regressing, not in many issues, not just solar and energy, but that is something that we all three of us aim to do. And I just wanted to answer that. And I know that someone asked a question earlier about staff. I know Jonathan mentioned there are approximately 200 employees for the staff, because I have been serving, like, this is the only role that I've ever ran for where I'm aware that you actually get like a policy advisor. So every commissioner has a policy advisor who's advising them. And usually it's supposed to be a lawyer. That isn't true for the current commission, but one of the requirements is that they are lawyers. So the policy advisor that gets to work with us has a legal background. And on CAP, we have staff that we share. There's 15 of us. On school board, we had staff that we shared. I've never had dedicated staff just to me, but Anna mentors me. So I have learned that there are over 200 employees that are staff for the commission. There are different sectors. There is a portion that listens to hearings, evidentiary hearings, and every commissioner has their own policy advisor. And there's like an executive director for the entire or a director for the entire commission.
And Eleni made a great point there. The current chairman of the commission, who, you know, has agenda setting power, doesn't have like the same sort of power that, say, the speaker in the state house has, but does have agenda setting power. His policy advisor is we don't have to say a Koch brothers plant. She literally comes from Koch Energy Services, which is a wholesaler. She listed on her LinkedIn profile. So she worked for Koch Energy Services for almost half a decade before doing some other policy work for the Koch network before coming to the Corporation Commission. And in addition to that, you know, we haven't really touched on, because we're trying to be pretty positive, but there's some serious corruption issues happening at the Corporation Commission right now. The current general counsel is not registered with the Arizona bar. And he has been acting as a lawyer in this state since the beginning of the year. And there is a highly qualified general counsel who happens to be a Black woman who got pushed out because the commission was doing things that she deemed as unconstitutional and illegal and advised them not to do that. And so instead of taking their lawyer's advice, they demoted her. They're trying to fire her and replace her with an unqualified out-of-state person who claims to be a lawyer and has been acting as a lawyer without Arizona bar approval since January. So these are the sorts of things that you get: this mismanagement, misgovernance, not fulfilling the constitutional roles of these government bodies under this super MAGA majority. So we have an opportunity to get things back on track.
Is that getting any press?
I mean, a little bit.
It didn't get that much attention, and it's not just Miss Robin. Miss Robin is a person who brought forward the initial complaint for lawsuit, but it was because she has a case, and she is also mentioning other Black individuals who work there and other Latinos. So they have gotten rid of all of the people of color who work there in leadership positions.
And not to pile on, but as I think it was Elenia mentioned, there is an executive director of the commission that handles, you know, just sort of the logistics and keeping this, you know, 200+ person operation running. I don't think they've gotten her out yet. They hired the sister of one of the sitting commissioners, which is complete nepotism. They filed an ethics complaint was filed, and they voted 4-1 to dismiss it.
I've got a question. we're talking about how additional
oversight.
but can lawsuits be brought?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what, yeah, one has been brought about this employment case. Yeah.
You have a bulleted list of talking points for our door knockers.
That's a great question. Not yet, but
Oh, no,
We will.
we do, we can, yeah, we
You have
can
one?
send you bullet points, yeah.
Okay.
If you want to reach out to us, we can send you bullet points. We have to, get my teammates qualified for clean elections before we can start printing palm cards. But we have the bullet points and we can, send you self-printing QR codes that will send, folks to our websites that have a lot of these talking points. But if you want to reach out to us, my email is very easy. It's just joshua@joshuaforarizona.com. My website is joshuaforarizona.com, and we can make sure that as y'all are going out into the communities, you're well armed with the information you need to convince the voters. And I know, it's not always super comfortable talking to Republicans, but this is a particular race where we found a lot of residents across party lines. I've been going to a lot of solar events. A lot of the people that own the solar companies themselves are Republicans. And they say, I've never voted for a Democrat in my life, but you, Eleni, and Jonathan have my vote this fall.
Awesome.
yeah, I've had the same experience too. There's multiple solar trade groups in Arizona. And I've gone to talk to a couple of them, and yeah, it's surprisingly Republican because it's a lot of these small businesses where, quite honestly, they saw an economic opportunity. They saw where solar was going and they wanted to get in on the ground floor, and they did. But the current commission is devastating their industry. And so while they might have policy disagreements with us in general, when it comes to the issues before the commission, they're 100% on our side. So I think, yeah, like Joshua said, the ability to build bridges here is tremendous.
And
Plus,
I don't want
everybody.
yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I don't mean to-
plus, everybody
yeah.
got that rate increase.
Right. And I don't mean to cut in. I do have to run to TEP to give them a grilling about their future resource plans. But I can take one more question. If not, I'm really honored. Thank you very much for allowing us to zoom in from down here in Pima County. I appreciate Jonathan getting up there. And I am, not to be too mercenary, but we have enough folks in this room to really help get Jonathan and Eleni really close to their clean elections funding. And I know there's some folks that might be able to give some amount and help get to our $3 million that we need to run statewide. Jonathan will be talking to y'all. If there are people that are interested in hosting house parties, please tell Jonathan, and we'll organize either 1, 2, or 3 of us will be able to show up to a house party. And we'll be able to either raise the hard dollars into my campaign, or hopefully the state party will have the system set up where they can take money in the name of the whole slate that we can coordinate with the expenditures for the party. So with that, I really thank you, Rimrocks. I hope to be up there very soon.
Very much.
Yeah, there you go.
I have a question. It seems the most important thing for us to do today is to get the paperwork so that we can make these donations, so you can get, some of us probably have to leave.
Yes, for me, I know Jonathan explained he's lesson 27, and I think that we can get him there today. I have, because I've been at this for, I don't know how long I've been campaigning, but I know that when I filed, I had 60 days to collect signatures, and we got them in 47. But anyway, I'm losing track of time with the statewide campaign. But I have less than 200 to collect to get me to qualify for the Clean Elections Fund. And we have until the end of this month to turn them in. That is our goal. That is not like the deadline. That's just the goal for the campaign, so we can start having like lit pieces and palm cards that I can give out Because right now I literally walk around with the QR codes and our fives, which Jonathan has, but we would like to qualify sooner rather than later, because we get the money as soon as we submit the forms. And obviously we need the money in order to run a campaign. And just so you have an idea, and I'm sure Jonathan has explained this in the past, we need as many petition signatures, and we have to make the same outreach as like future Senator Gallego and our governor, but we have very, very, very limited resources. So we are trying to be as strategic as possible with using our resources and spreading our message across. And right now, like, we are just, after we become the nominees, then we're able to get more support from the state party. Right now, they are supporting the way that they can, but it's all a concerted effort. I just want to say thank you for helping me collect the signatures to get me on the ballot in 47 days by getting the 6,556 signatures so quickly. But we do need the dollars to help us get the money so we can continue running our campaigns statewide.
What can we do today? I mean, do you have enough forms for us?
Do you want to bring?
Yeah. So I have the forms on the table outside.
We can take home and write our check.
Or do you want to?
Yeah. If you want to,
Now, how much is
Circulate.
So $5 fees, you can do the QR code or fill out the paper.
yeah. Or if you want to send it to us, I can give you the address and.
I think since we're all, let's just wait the time such. Let's just get the stuff out.
Okay.
Grab forms.
And for those who want to do it online, you can go to my website and there's a link that says donate 5. It's the same thing if you go to Equal, where you signed our petition. It's the same process. You can donate through Equal through, like, I think there's an option where if you have it set up on your phone where you could do Apple Pay or whatever credit card is connected. So it's really easy and simple. The only challenge is, your driver's license. But other than that, if that is a challenge or a barrier, I totally understand. I have technological challenges myself, but the forms are there with Jonathan, and those are also greatly appreciated.
But what DORR can do, for example,
If you already gave the $5, I honestly don't remember if I did or didn't. Will you get kicked out of the system? So we don't want to risk something that's wrong.
So what will happen is that our team will verify them. So we will make sure that if you did it online already, there's no way you can do it online again because it'll recognize you. If you did it through paper, we will have to verify each one of them to make sure that we don't have duplicates. If we do, we will discard. We can't file double. So like we will be checking those because we will get challenged.
District, right? You never know that phone. This place is here. We are reaching it, right?
we are legislative district, right?
Hold on a minute, Ellen.
Let me just explain something. The easiest and best way to do this, and I did it months ago, is go to the Secretary of State's website, and you can do through the Equal, just like Elena said. All you need is your driver's license. You can do that. You can sign their petitions. You have to get out again, and then you can submit to $5 on your credit card. That way you won't get double counted. There's no confusion, and they've got it, and it's done. I would recommend either go to her website or it will take you to the Secretary of State's website. And that'll keep track of it. You have to do 2 processes, one to sign, one to do the $5 contribution. What we can also do is, how many emails you get from DORR announcing these breakfasts and the film club and things like that. Shelley Haken, who prepares all of those, we can put a little paragraph on there to say something about the Corporation Commission and how important it is, and give the Secretary of State Equal site, ask people to please do that. And the more signatures they get, but nobody's going to question the online signatures, like, the forms, they're safe.
Yeah, if you want the online, I have the little web address here. Sorry?
Yeah.
And you do have to be a registered voter in Arizona. We're a legislative district now.
So you are one, Gerald.
Yes,
one.
Okay, you're just barely in one, right?
we're in congressional district 2, but LD 1.
One, okay.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions?
Yeah, we don't have a whiteboard. If you wanna, if you, yeah, it's Jonathan Hill. And Alenia Aguilar.
Oh, already.
Yeah, there's, yeah.
It's Leia? No.
Alan.
YL
And they'll fill it in, right? I don't think so. Your last name?
Aguilar, Aguilar.
Yes.
Thank you. It's great. Okay.
So much hard.
Aguilar,
Aguilar.
Here, you can have mine, because I'm like in between, I just realized something's gonna be in one of these. Registered, they're driving through it. Okay, wait for it.
Solicitors' names, what's that?
I'll fill that out. I'm technically the solicitor.
The office select.
Corporation Commission, or just ACC.
Is that a full-time job or a part-time?
Oh, that's a really good question. So yeah, so I don't know if Alenia heard that. It's is the commission a full-time job or a part-time job?
So it is
Well-
considered a part-time job, but it's full-time work. I know that Commissioner Levi said that the first year she was there, she spent every day at rate school learning about how to rate set. And that is like the same commitment that I'm planning on providing, is learning for a year, like showing up every single day to learn. So you are like paid a salary. It is, because of the cost of living, it's a pretty decent salary, but also like I still am going to keep my contracts, a couple of my contracts, because it's a part-time job, but it requires full-time attention.
Same thing with the DORR board, by the way.
Yeah.
Except no pay.
Oh, yeah, except. Okay. Here you go.
Well, thank you all so much. I'll hang around afterwards. If you have any, want to drop off with me, or if you want the cards, just thank you so much on behalf of myself and Joshua and Alenia. Like I said, this is a great turnout. Thank you all for coming today and just being so ready to go and support us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
What an eager response to you, because you know what I just realized today, I just moved
The qualifications of these 3 people are so amazing. Blown away. John, you have something?
haven't registered it. Could you just talk to me before you start?
Yeah. I think Jonathan was a character in the Big Bang Theory.
These guys, all 3 of you, Elena and Joshua and Jonathan, so amazingly qualified. I'm getting blown away by it.
Yeah.
So thank you for the 3 candidates for joining us. I think we all have a much better understanding. What we have to do is amplify. We have so much going on in our brains right now, and maybe, I know it's not just me, but we've got so many candidates and so many agendas and so many things to do with winning the Senate race and flipping the state legislature and the presidential thing. Oh yeah, that. So there's so much on our plates, but this is an important thing. Let me switch channels for just a second. I have here some envelopes. These envelopes contain scripts and postcards and scripts and postcards and names and addresses of people who live in our congressional district, not legislative, congressional district, which is CD2, which is ginormous. Our congressional representative right now in the US House of Representatives, as we know, is the most evil, like Frank. He was there in New York City yesterday outside of the Trump trial. I saw his picture. He was there as one of the mouthpieces for Donald Trump. We got to get rid of this guy. And our candidate, Jonathan Nez, former president of the Navajo Nation, is a terrific candidate, and he has a real chance of winning. What is in these envelopes is DORR has partnered with a group called Field Team 6. Field Team 6 only is spotlighting candidate states that are swing states called battleground states, which we are. What Field Team 6 does, their motto is registered Democrats save the world. These names and addresses are people that are left-leaning and are not registered. DORR does not have access to lists like this. DORR has access to the VAN, the Voter Activation Network, which is people that are already registered. Only Field Team 6 has access to, and they purchase lists of people that they suspect strongly through analysis will, if they register, will register Democrat or independent, but be left-leaning. And so what we're trying to do is get more left-leaning people in our district registered. You might ask, well, how do they know that? They do lots, they purchase lots of lists and they're calculated. For example, one example is owners of Priuses.
That's great.
And it's true. So they're hedging their bets that based on that, we can get people registered to vote who are not registered. And so what we do is we send a handwritten postcard. It's got a QR code on there. They can do this through the QR code, or our script says, or go to this website and you can register to vote. That's what this is about. This is voter registration. So if anyone has decent handwriting, I mean, if it's legible, there are 10 names and addresses in each of these packets. Linda, please look at my hand here out. If anybody who's interested in writing postcards, if you want 2 packets, 20 cards, fine. We would love that.
Question.
Yeah.
I just want to start. Did you hear? Make one for the house.
Let's see. I can't answer questions because people's hands are up. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, Stephen, why don't you make your
Just be really short, depending on the answer. How many people in the room have friends or relatives living in the New York City area? Right here. Anybody? What? Okay, that are Democrats. Okay, so.
Got any more?
I don't, but
Then you can just sit out.
yeah.
So for the people that know people in New York, I'm going to New York next week. I have to go for a family wedding, but while I'm there, I'm producing a cabaret variety show. This is the 11th time I've done this since 2018. To raise money for the New York congressional candidates that can flip races that Biden won in 2020, but that Republicans currently hold. So we're going to send that money to the New York candidates. The show is going to be on Friday, May 24th at 7 o'clock at Don't Tell Mama on Restaurant Row. Going to be 16 singers, tremendous singers, all doing songs about democracy and patriotism. And we're going, whatever money we raise, we're going to split up among 4 or 5 of those New York congressional candidates, because we need to flip the House. And we can do it with the New
So
York.
what do you want those actions to be?
Send emails to people that you know in New York, and
How can they find more about it?
if you go on don't tell mama nyc.com, that's the room that has the information here. Or you can message me. I'm on Facebook if you're on Facebook, or
Stephen
Hanks,
PH.
right? So
Yeah, good.
we can sell a couple more tickets. That would be great.
Right, thank you. Do you have?
Yeah. You would write that someone. And what is also very important, not this coming Monday, but the following to me is Memorial. Is Memorial Day and Safeco, Sedona Area Veterans Community Outreach is going to be hosting day, honor all of our fallen veterans. That is a Memorial Day. I wanted to hand these reminders out to everybody. It's going to be at Aussie Grounds Park. Normally it's at the military park, but this year we're moving it to Posse Grounds Park because military park's too small. So anyway, I wanted to let you know that it's, like I said, not this coming Monday, next Monday, 27th. It's gonna start at 9. It's we don't have the shades that we usually had in the past, but we believe if we get it that early, start out early also. And hope to see everybody, for that is honoring our fallen brothers that have passed away, defending our right.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you. One more thing. The abortion petitions. Everyone, I assume everyone in here has signed the petitions to get abortion rights on the ballot. We are going to start having to turn them in, get them notarized and turned in the beginning of June. So please, if you still have them out, fill out the rest of your papers. You can get them notarized at the DORR office on Thursdays and Saturdays from 11 to 3. See?
What happens if you have, you don't have 15 or?
If it's not complete, turn it in anyway, get it notarized. It's doing more good if you send it in with 3 signatures than if you keep it in the backseat of your car. So I would say do that, but please, if you're collecting signatures, please do that. This is still very important. And then we will have big ceremony in Phoenix, turning them all in on July the 3rd. All right. Kathy?
So we are hot and heavy into the local campaign season now, from the July 30th primary election, which all local offices will be on. And I just want to say a free way that you can help candidates locally is by putting car magnets on your car. So that they're seen all over Sedona. So if anybody would like a car magnet, Scott has his, I have Holly's and mine. So if you could please, you would like a car magnet, you would really appreciate you helping us get our names out. Thank you.
Ellen, the local stuff endorsed. We have endorsed Scott, we have endorsed Kathy, we have endorsed Holly, we have endorsed Nikki Check for county supervisor in Yavapai County. We have endorsed Jonathan Nez, we have endorsed Ruben Gallego. President Biden. It goes without saying, and I believe we're going to endorse the entire Democratic slate for the Corporation Commission. Very sure. So, yeah. Scott?
So people will take the yard signs, and then usually what happens, they take them, they'll realize it's very hard to get them in the ground. Anybody who takes Kathy and Holly's sign, Derek Fobb's sign, Nikki Check sign, my own sign, if you can't get them in the ground, contact me. Got a great tool how to do it. Put it in, because not everybody's strong enough to get it into that fresh ground.
I did forget to name Derek Bath for city council. He's another person, he's a third them running for city council. I think that's about it. You know, obviously the 3rd Friday of every month we meet here. We're going to have local candidates next month. And I appreciate everybody being here. We need to amplify. That's our job. All that our candidates have done here, these Corporation Commission guys, that's terrific. But we're what? A total of maybe 45 or 50 people. We need to yap. We need to talk them up and sell them and help them in any way we can. This is very, very important. Thank you for being here. We will do what we can to help.
Thank you. That's all we can ask.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you, George.